Hey, what's up, universe? It's 3:58 a.m. on August, Tuesday? Wednesday, August 2nd, 2023. So I've been sitting here trying, thinking about what I might speak about, because there's a number of things I could talk about. I'm obviously, not in the house. So interesting. I don't know. Oh, it looks like I might be connected to some Wi-Fi. Here, I wonder if I can do this real quick. Okay. I just switched over to my cell data. So, yeah, pretty much to like the last minute. Like the boys and I left the house just after 7 a.m. yesterday. Packing everything up and just getting everything ready. While the boys slept, took a little bit of time, but it got done. And I donated quite a bit of stuff, to the house, more or less, like whiteboard and some tempered glass, like plates for the chairs, desk chairs, stuff that couldn't fit in the car. So Jason said I could leave that stuff behind, and if you tally it up, it's probably a couple grand worth of stuff. So part of me is kind of like, I wonder if he'll take that as a form of contribution. Probably not, but it's something I think about. So yesterday, dropped the kids off over to Angela's in the morning, I brought some of the stuff that I had in my car and took it over there too, and spent my day at the library, looking for roles and things like that. And it's interesting, one of the guys that was at the library back in May was still at the library. I don't know his story necessarily, and when I say one of the guys, it's, he's a patron, and I'm grateful for libraries for a number of reasons, and you can just tell that there's a part of the transient population that totally makes use of the libraries, and so it's a great piece of infrastructure for our society, and I'm grateful for them. And so it's looking at different roles and things like that. And then I spent some time once the library closed, I went to a grocery store and got myself set up. I actually set my laptop up there, and that's actually probably where I'll be most of the time today, just because they have public Wi-Fi, and I'll check it out anyway. I believe that there's probably just seating there that I can use, where I can set up shop and use my laptop. I could do it at the library too. The grocery store just kind of provides me a little bit different location. Anyway, so there's that, and I spent, when I was at the grocery store, there was some, I ran into a post on LinkedIn about different job posting sites, like LinkedIn and Indeed aren't the only places in town to, take a look at work. And so there was this site that was listed called Brain Trust, and it has contract work. Some of it might be full-time, but some of it's just like, shorter term, or kind of as an ad-needed basis, in a way, project-based, I should say, type of work. And so there was a couple of projects there that I was like, okay, I'll give that a try. So I applied for those, and then I started looking at housing, and I found it interesting that a house that I was looking at prior to the house that I moved into was back on the market, because it wasn't on the market. It was on the market when I was originally looking at places, and then it went off the market, and I was like, okay, but now it's back on the market, and I'm like, interesting. I have criteria for the things that I'm looking at, like furnished, because I don't have furniture, and so I just found it curious that it's available. Yeah, so I mean, there's things that are coming up for me around, you know, my credit and debts and things like that. Curious what things will be like when I start making an income because of owing back taxes, and just curious how that's going to work, if they'll start garnishing wages right off the bat. And, there's just all this chatter that can go on in my head about what is it going to look like and how's it going to unfold, and all of these things that can really take away from my focus, and from my being grounded, and being still in my mind and creating a positive now. And so I'm going to get into this next part here, because this is part of the there's something that came up that I did find disturbing, and that I continue to find disturbing. And it's funny in a way, because it's a trigger for me. And so because of that, I know that there's something inside of me that I haven't resolved. So I'm going to start off with 2 quotes, because I love quotes. Immanuel Kant said, "We are rich not by what we possess, but what we can do without." And then Ram Dass said, "If you think you're enlightened, spend a week with your family." And so I'm grateful that my mom has started to watch my Instagram, and I'm grateful that my oldest sister has as well, because that at least shows me that there's some interest from my family. Now, I don't really talk about this that much. I don't bring this into the fold, because most of the time there's not a lot to talk about, and because my interactions with my family have been few and far between over the last few years, and I understand what I've done to contribute to that. So what came up, not yesterday, but the night before, right? So like my last night in the house, my mom reached out, and I allowed myself to become triggered by her text because of the way that I interpreted it. And the thing that comes up for me, the way it feels to me, the way it appears to me, and I know that I'm having a hard time changing this perception. The video that I did literally before my mom sent me the text, honestly, was about, contributing my spirituality to my mom, and like the one who inspired me to be faith-based was my mom, or is my mom. And so when I received this text from my mom the other night, it triggered me because she was definitely expressing her opinion about my choices, and my family has expressed their concern, and it's always under the guise of help and concern, which is, I can't help but equate that to like what Ronald Reagan would say about the government, and the 8 most dangerous words in the English language are, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." So the thing is that concern is fine. The thing is that things can be invalidating, and I haven't received from my family any form of like validation or support, in the sense of like, I'm not asking for them to agree with what I'm doing, you know, like I get it. There's a lot of people that don't understand what I'm doing. I don't even understand what I'm doing a lot of the time, so it's fine. Be that as it may, like it's kind of like when somebody passes and someone says, well, at least they had a long life. And it's kind of like, yeah, that doesn't change the fact that the person that lost somebody is still grieving. You know what I mean? So in this particular context, it's like, okay, you have concern and you're expressing your concern, and wrapped up in that expression of concern is an opinion about the choices that I'm making, instead of being like, man, it must really suck to, you know, have to go through this kind of a thing. Now, I understand that it's because of my own choices. I'm not looking for like pity. It's just a matter of like understanding that validation is like important. You know, like you can be concerned and you can have your opinions. You can also choose to be supportive. You know what I mean? So the thing that I find frustrating is that, you know, I have family in town. Like, people might wonder, why are you homeless? Like, you know, do you have family? Do you have friends? I have friends that I feel like I could turn to more than my family. And what I find interesting is that I have family in town, yet they're not offering to be supportive. And this is why, like with my own sons, like, you know, I feel like I can speak to this because I have my own experience with this. I have sons. They make choices that I don't always agree with, you know, and I anticipate that as they continue to grow older, there's going to be other choices that I don't agree with. That doesn't mean that I won't support them. That doesn't mean that I won't be there for them. Not like, you know, just expressing my concern, but like legitimately, like, how can I help you? You know what I mean? Like, as human beings, how can I help you? You know what I mean? Part of the reason that I actually enjoy experiencing what I've experienced is because I can go to somebody and be like, I know what that's like. How can I help you? You know what I mean? This is where the compassion comes in, where, you know, like, I don't care what choices that person made to have them arrive at whatever circumstance they're in, because it's immaterial. It doesn't matter. The fact is that somebody is experiencing that thing. How can I help you? You know what I mean? Like, and so that plays into another thing that I've tried to communicate to my family, which is conditional love. Where if I have participated in life a certain way, if I've made certain choices, then I'm loved and I'm safe. If I go outside of that box and I make choices that are outside of what the family deems, you know, rational and okay, and then I'm not loved, and it's not safe, you know. And my oldest sister, you know, has like, you should go see a mental professional because I think something's going on with you. Okay, so I did that, and I spoke with a mental health professional. They're like, you're intelligent and you have a high emotional IQ or EQ, and you do things that I try to get my patients to do for a long time, and some do, some don't. And I go through and we talk about the things that I just mentioned. And so then I get validation from like a therapist. And I'll put it this way. I chose the therapist that started a group of therapists, right? So not just a therapist, but like the main therapist of a group. You know what I mean? And then I try to go back and talk to my family about this. And I continue to get invalidated, you know, like they either don't want to hear it, they don't believe it, they don't like, so it's this, like, there's no way to win, you know what I mean? There's no way to win. And so, like, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, where I was taught to be a faith-based person. I practice being a faith-based person, and then I get judged for being a faith-based person. And then I get told that I have mental things going on with me. So then I go and I talk to a therapist, come back with what I've learned and what I've researched, and then that gets judged and dismissed. And it's like, is there... The only way I've ever been able to kind of participate with my family is if I fit inside of their box. And I did that for a long, long time. And then I started making choices that took me outside of that box because I hated that fucking box. And that's why, that's so, yeah. And there's just assumptions that are made by my family that are inaccurate. And they don't choose to learn. They don't choose to explore because they're not interested. And when I try to explain, it doesn't land. So that's definitely, I mention all of this I'm not looking to be shitty about my family. That's not the point of this. I'm not here to rant about my family. This is the real Zach Olinger. And so if people want to know part of what's taking up my mental real estate, it's that. Because I have a wound around that. And that's not how I want my relationship with my family to be. I've definitely been full of piss and vinegar about it before. I've been angry because it's a wound, and that doesn't get me anywhere. Okay. So I'm not here to slam my family. I'm just explaining the context, and it's a very real piece of mental work for me to process that and to manage that in the mix of all of this other stuff that's going on. I would love for that to be a completely different experience for both of us, for everybody involved in my family and for myself. I don't know if that will ever be healed or reconciled. And I know for a fact that I obviously still have things that I need to work through around that. So that's the only thing I can take responsibility for. And I'll fully acknowledge that. I fully acknowledge that. And I'm aware of it. And the reason I'm speaking about it right now is because I'm working on it. You know what I mean? And that's one of the things I will mention too, that I have a friend in the UK. His name's Mac, and he's very supportive, and I'm grateful for him. And he gave me a way to kind of frame my experience. So I'm working on incorporating that and leaning into that. Yeah. There's just there's just a lot that comes up for me around this stuff. Like, part of what my mom said is that we all have to do what we don't want to do. And I'm like, you think I want to experience this? I mean, I want to experience my faith, and I do. But like, no, I don't want to have to go through this. And I think that it's probably because there have been roles that have come up, and I've said no to them. And I think that because I have made that choice, that she may view me as like, I don't know if it's a prima donna kind of a thing, or if like, I think that probably doesn't land well with her, because it's like, well, you had an opportunity and you didn't take it. So I'm not complaining about my situation. You see, that's the big difference. I'm not complaining about it. I'm talking about it. I'm not complaining about it. Okay. I'm letting people know what's going on, but I'm not bitching about it. You know what I mean? And I totally am accountable. I'm accepting responsibility. You know, I'm acknowledging my contribution to where I'm at. So, you know, I turn down these roles because they're not in alignment with me. And I wouldn't tell my mom that she should go work a job that is out of alignment with her just so that she can have, you know, food and shelter and all these things. Like, I have a big disagreement with the system in general, you know, and that's my main reason for going through and what I'm doing. I'm a huge contrarian to what we are taught to believe is the quote unquote right way. I don't agree with that. I just don't. I don't agree with that at all. I think and believe that we can do and be better as a species, in the sense of how we navigate and how we sustain ourselves. And so let me put it this way. I could accept roles that are out of alignment for me just so I can have funds. I get that. And I've done that. I've totally done that. Then the outcome is the same all the time. I'll either be upset with myself because I'm out of alignment with my values. I'll hate my work, so therefore part of my life sucks. And I view that as self-harm. So either I accept the role and have funds, and part of my life is shitty, but at least I have money, right? You know, that's what a lot of people would say. Well, at least you have, you know, money. Or I can choose to be in alignment with myself and honor my spiritual path, which is what I was saying in my video before. My primary responsibility in this life is towards my spiritual path. That's my belief. You know, and I'm not miserable and I'm not unhappy. Okay, that's not what this is about. I cry a lot because there's a lot of energy that I have to move and process. That doesn't mean that I'm unhappy. It just means that I'm an extremely emotional person and I move that energy. You know what I mean? So I'm always going to honor that spiritual path because my relationship with the divine and God or the universe, that's of the utmost importance. 100% the most important thing. So I'd rather be in alignment with that and practice responsibility towards that than anything that man has said is important, which would be having a job that destroys a part of myself because, well, it's for money. Money is not the point for me. Like, money is like, it's a means to an end, but it's like, I'm not making that my God. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. So obviously, you know, like there's still this 3D world that I live in. There's still obligations and responsibilities and other things. I get that, and I'm working on that. So balancing these things, balancing the spiritual side without compromising myself, because I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to compromise myself. Compromise is not a solution. Compromises are not solutions. They're not. Look up the definition of compromise. And compromises are not enduring solutions. They're not. They're not. And people that enter into compromises don't enjoy compromising. The way I always relate that is like, if your wheel on your car was compromised, would you drive on it? When people say your health has been compromised, do you do something about it so that your health's not compromised? You know, compromises are not solutions, man. They're not. So I'm going through a process, and it's been an ongoing long process because there's been decades of things to unlearn. There's been decades of things to heal. There's been decades of things to reconcile. These types of things don't happen overnight. It's a process. And so, I guess for me, having gone through and going through my own process, when I look at my children, how can I support them as they're going through their process? You know, how can I support my fellow human being as they are going through their process? You know, and that's what I was talking about when I visited my mom in the hospital. Like, I saw her and I was like, I know there's more going on for her than she's talking about. And I desired to, what can I do to help my mom as she's experiencing what she's experiencing? You know, without judgment, without ridicule, without, you know, like, my mom's made choices that I don't agree with, but I'm not gonna, like, that's not the point, man. It's not the point, you know? Same thing with my sisters, not the point. It's not about, quote unquote, right and wrong. It's not about that, because that's a judgment. And how can I ever tell anybody what's right for them? I'm not them. That's not my journey. I can't tell you what's right or wrong for you. How can I support you, though? What can I do to help you? All right. End rant. I've been talking for a long time. That's what I got. So, I would love to shower. It's very humid out, and I'm a little sticky. Laying down to sleep is a beautiful thing. In my car, like, is comfortable, and I'm able to take good naps in here. Just laying horizontally is a good thing. So, there's a couple things that I'm like, yeah, it would be nice to have. You know, beds are beautiful. Even just being able to lay out on the ground without it being weird would be nice. But yeah, it'll all work out. It'll all work out. All right, I'm gonna wrap this up. Thank you again for being here. Thanks for journeying with me. Thanks for being a part of this. Thanks for giving me the time and the space, for sure. So, I love you guys. And I love you, Mom, and I love you, my sisters. I was trying to decide if I was going to say any names. I'm trying to, be respectful. So, I love my family, and I'm not looking to be shitty. That's not the point. Fighting, it doesn't resolve anything. So, I was simply speaking about what's occupying my mental space, what I'm working on managing, and what I'm working on healing and moving through. All right. I love you guys. I'll talk to you later.